Hi everybody, my name is Melody and I'm gonna be telling you the story about when I was 15 and pregnant and then when I was 17 and pregnant. Okay, so I took a pregnancy test and I told my baby's father I am pregnant, sent him a picture and he was really happy and so was I. My pregnancy wasn't that bad. I started going to this clinic where his mom went for his sisters. And so I was going, but I didn't like it there. So I changed to the one where my mom and my family always went to. And I liked it so much better there, even though it was farther. I did like that one better, so I stayed there. And there we did the ultrasounds and everything. My baby's father was with me at every doctor's appointment. It wasn't a bad pregnancy. Like, everything was smooth, everything was calm. I only had one sick day, but it was just like literally 5 minutes. I just ate a sandwich and I just didn't like it and I needed to throw it out, so I did, and that was the only time, but it wasn't bad. And I was just super excited to meet my baby. I was happy, and everybody would tell me like, you have to walk, because I would just be laying down most of the time, except at the beginning when it was time for me to give birth. I was 42 weeks. They did not try to induce me before or anything. I think I could have asked them for that, but I didn't, because I didn't know much. So I just waited till I guess she was gonna come. So that day I went to my doctor's appointment, and it was a Friday. I went to my doctor's appointment and they were telling me like, oh, you have high blood pressure, and they're like, we're gonna have to send you to the hospital. And I was like, okay. So that day my mom had gone, because she was like, okay, you're gonna have this baby today. They induced me right away, and I didn't start getting contractions, or like, yeah, I didn't start getting contractions till like I got admitted like around 11 or 12. And the contractions didn't start till later that day, like actually in the night, like around 7 they started, and I was like, it was hurting. I can't take any pain at all. So my mom was just laughing. They were saying, aguantate, like you can do it, because I wanted to get the epidural already, and I was like, no, I need the epidural. I can't do it. I'm not strong like you are, because she did 3 of us without the epidural. And so I was just crying and I wanted it. So I eventually got it when I was open 4, and the process was taking so long. Like, I wouldn't open fast enough. It was already like 12 and I still wasn't opening. I was probably like at 6, and then around 9 or 8:30 and you're open 9. So I was like, okay. So I was like, it's getting closer, because I'm supposed to be open 10 for the ones that don't know. And so I was like getting more and more nervous. So eventually it got to 10. I opened 10, and they're like, okay, you're ready to have this baby. And I was like, I was really nervous, scared. I didn't know what was gonna happen. And so then when it came for the time like that I had to push, they like explained how you have to push. And I was pushing and she wouldn't come out, and they're like, come on, you got this. And eventually, like, she was crowning, and she was there for quite some time, because I couldn't push anymore. Well, I was, but not strong enough to push her out. So then I guess they had to cut me, and she eventually came out after like so long. I eventually had my baby. It was the best thing ever. She was born 7 pounds and 14 ounces. She was quite big, and we named her Aaliyah. She was just so beautiful. It was amazing. Like, after all that struggle, like, I finally had her with me. And so then after that, like, I would notice that they wouldn't finish with me, like down there. So I was like, what's going on? And my mom's like, you're bleeding more than normal, more than people usually should. And I was like, whoa, what happened? And the doctors were like, oh, all I remember saying them saying that my placenta had erupted inside, or I still had pieces of my placenta inside, so I was bleeding a lot, which I lost a lot of blood. I don't remember much about after that because I did lose blood and I wasn't conscious. So all I remember after that was that they took my baby away. They took me into this room to put me a balloon, and the epidural was wearing off already, so I kind of felt everything. And after that, I just remember waking up with blood transfusion, and I was barely getting better. So then I was at the hospital for about like 3 days. So when I finally got to go home, I had a lot of support. I had my mom living in the house, my boyfriend, he got a week off from his job, and also my sisters were a big help, and my grandma lives like right across, so they were all there to help me. I was breastfeeding, and I did have like trouble with her latching on, but like 3 weeks after I tried, she eventually got on good. So I ended up breastfeeding her until she was 1 year and 3 months. The reason why I stopped was because I got pregnant of my second child. So I eventually stopped breastfeeding her, and when I found out I was pregnant of my second child, it was funny because my mom saw me one day and she asked me like, "Are you pregnant?" And I was all like, I'm not sure. I think so. And she was all like, "Well, you should take a pregnancy test because it looks like you look different and this and that." And I was all like, okay. So I did take a pregnancy test and it came out positive. And me and my baby's father were happy again because we actually wanted another baby. And so I was 17 and he was already 18, and it was a little bit harder with this pregnancy because I had really bad whatever it's called, or how you pronounce it. I was not throwing up, but I just couldn't eat. Like everything would be like I couldn't smell food and I wouldn't want to eat, and I was losing weight. I went to the doctors and they were like, "Okay, you're pregnant. What do you want to do? Do you want to keep the baby since you do have a younger baby and you're a teen mom?" And I was like, "Obviously I want to keep the baby. I'm not planning on like aborting or nothing." And they were like, "Okay, since when haven't you had your period?" And I was like, the last one I remember was in July, but I'm not sure because since I'm breastfeeding, they say your period irregulates. So I was like, I'm not sure if it was that. So they're like, "Okay, so based on what you're telling us, you're like 20 weeks pregnant," they told me. And I was like, "Oh, okay." So they're like, "Okay, we're gonna take you an ultrasound next appointment to see how many weeks you are." And I was excited because I was like, if I'm actually that many weeks, like I'm able to know the gender. And so then they were like, when they took the ultrasound, they said I was barely like 10 weeks pregnant. And I was like, wow, so I can't find out till like 4 more weeks. I was kind of sad, and everybody thought that this baby was gonna be a boy because I was losing weight. All the symptoms were so different from the first one, so I was like, I was kind of going towards it was a boy too. When they eventually told us the gender, it was another girl, and everybody couldn't believe it. They were like, "What? We thought you were gonna have a boy." And I was like, well, I kind of thought so too. I'm like, what if, because the baby didn't really let herself see. The ultrasound lady was all like, "Oh, I think it's a boy." And then later she was looking more, she was like, "Okay, I think it's a girl actually, but next time we're gonna check for sure." So we were all waiting for the next ultrasound. The next ultrasound came and they told me it was a girl, and they told me that my placenta was low. Yes, my placenta was low. So I was kind of scared. I searched it up because Google was like, for whatever symptoms or anything, I was like searching it up on Google. So I searched that up, and it said that it can cause, when you're giving birth, it can cause you like some difficulties. So I was scared, and I asked my doctor. My doctor said like, Google is not a doctor. So she told me, don't worry, everything's gonna get better. It will go up as time goes. And I was like, okay, thank you. I like wasn't worried as much anymore. And so it did get better. But the reason why I was scared was because of what had happened with my first. I was like, I don't want the same thing to happen. And so with this baby, I did not walk at all, and people would tell me like, you're gonna have difficulties again and this and that. So the day eventually came. I was 40 weeks. I went to the hospital exactly at 40 weeks. A Thursday I went to the hospital because at 8 in the morning I thought I had peed myself, and I went to the bathroom and my undies were wet, and I was like, okay, like I didn't pee myself. So I didn't think anything of it. I did tell my mom though, and she was like, oh my goodness, you want me to take you to the hospital? And I was like, no, like I'm just gonna wait a little bit more and see what happens. So I went back to sleep, and at 11 I woke up to check and nothing was there. Like it wasn't wet or anything. So I was like, okay, it's just a false alarm. And I was opened already 2.5 at this time. So I was like, is it or is it not? I was like, no, I'm just gonna wait to see if it actually is. Like, just wait a little time, and if it is that, I'm gonna cook something. So as I was cooking, I was obviously like walking back and forth carrying my baby and everything, and I was like leaking and leaking more, and I was like, okay, this is not normal. So I finished doing what I was doing. I went to the bathroom, and I was like, okay, if it is that, I am gonna shower, because they told me taking a warm bath would help opening and dilating. Well, that's the same thing, dilating. So I did take a shower, and as I was showering, my baby was crying and crying, and I called my grandma. I'm like, grandma, can you please send me my sister? Eventually my aunt and my sister came, and they were here watching my daughter, and they were like, how do you feel? Do you think this is actually it? And I was like, yeah. Sorry, I forgot to say, when I was showering and I barely called my grandma, I just felt like I was peeing. Like, I guess my water really broke there. Like, everything just fell or came out. And I was like, really, it felt nasty, because I thought I was peeing myself, but it wasn't. And it was funny though, because days before, I would tell my baby's father like, oh, I want to experience what your water breaking feels like. And he was like, why? And I'm like, I don't know, I just want to feel it. So when it actually came, I was remembering that I was saying that, and I was like, I don't want to feel it ever again. Like, it doesn't feel good. But I thank God that he actually let me experience that. So then when my aunt and them were here, I was like leaking more and more, and my grandma's like, put on a diaper of your baby. So I put on a diaper, and I felt so uncomfortable. It was already about like 2, and my mom's like, do you want me to get out of work and take you? I was like, no, Andy's about to get out. Andy's my baby's father. And they were like, okay, are you sure? And I'm like, yes. So he eventually got out, and like he just literally came and he picked me up. They took my daughter, my aunt and my sister took my daughter to their house. And so I went and I told them, I think my water broke right now at 2, because I told them when I was showering and I felt like everything come out, that's when I told them. And then later when they admitted me in, I told them that at 8 I actually was like leaking a little bit, and they're like, okay, so your water broke since 8. And I was like, oh, okay. So they're like, we're gonna check if you're dilated and if it's actually your water that broke. So I was like, okay. And I was waiting. They eventually did the test for the water breaking, and they came back saying it was my water that had broken, and I was dilated 3.5 already. So they did keep me in the hospital, and they're like, okay, we're gonna get you ready. So they got me ready. They took me to the room where I was gonna give birth, and there they were like, okay, are you getting any contractions? And I'm like, I am, but they're like, they don't hurt at all. And they were like, okay, if you don't get contractions, we're gonna have to induce you a little bit, we'll provoke the contractions. And they were like, we don't want to give you too much dose though, because of what did happen with you last time with your first. So then the contractions finally were coming and getting to me, and I was opening like a little bit fast, and so the contractions were coming, and I was trying to handle a little bit more than with my first, but I just couldn't. So I eventually got the epidural. I was crying for it. And so then I I wasn't opening. I got stuck like at 7 or 8, and then the nurse, she was really nice, and she did some exercises that she said that helped in this other pregnancy or delivering that she was in. So she started doing it to me, and like right after that I opened 10, and she's like, okay, you're ready. And I was like, oh my goodness, thank you, like that helped me. So she was like, okay, you're ready to start pushing. So I started pushing, and she's like, the baby's head like came out on the first push, and I was like, what the heck. And at my mom, my aunt, and my boyfriend were in the room, and they were like, okay, she's gonna take long like with her first. So they just like sat down. My mom did go by my side actually, but she was just like calm about it. I'm guessing, and I also thought that I was gonna take long like with my first. So when it eventually came, like I pushed another one and she was coming out, the nurse was calling the doctor. She had a student nurse with her, and she was trying to ask her for help, but the nurse was kind of like, I guess it was her first delivery too. So I was trying to push, and she's like, no, don't push. And I was like, I have the urge to push. And she's like, the baby's gonna come out by itself. So I did push a little bit more, and it just came out. My baby was born at 9:48, 10 minutes before her sister was born. My other daughter was born at 9:58 a.m. and she eventually came out. Now the nurse did deliver my baby, and I guess it was her first time, so she did everything pretty good though. My baby was good, she was healthy, so was I was doing like, right after that I felt so good. My placenta did come out complete this time. I was so happy. And so they were just checking on me that if I was bleeding more and more, they like were really careful with that. And no, everything was good. I was released the day after I gave birth. And so I eventually came home, and I started adapting myself to it because of my other baby. My baby's father works from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. So in the afternoon he does help me with them. But I am now like good with it, kind of. And it's not that hard actually, but they tell me it will be harder once the other baby starts crawling, gets older, and I'm just like waiting for that. But like as of right now, I am trying to like be with them, like I am with them 24/7, and it's like just so amazing having both of my babies finally with me. It isn't easy, but it's not hard, it's not impossible. So if you're a young mom and you're pregnant again with another baby, it's not hard. People do tell you, oh, good luck, like saying like it's gonna be hard, but it's not that hard. You can do it. If I can do it, anyone else can do it. So yes, just the babies are just blessings, and I am so happy I had both of my babies. And I mean, the first one wasn't easy, but now I like understood. It was probably because of all the medication they gave me with the first to try to induce me, but yes. So just, if you're a teen mom, do not worry about anything. People are always gonna like do you dirty looks when you go out, because I got that, and I would like, because of that I didn't want to go out much. But I eventually was like, why am I trying to hide? Why don't I want to show off that I'm gonna have a baby? Like, not many people, there's a lot of people that can't have babies and they want to have babies, and I'm lucky enough to be able to have a baby, be able to have 2 babies. So now I'm just like, I go out in public like showing off my babies because they are a blessing, and not everybody has the chance to be a mom. So be happy, be proud that you were able to have a baby, and good luck. thank you for watching. This is the end of my story. If you guys want to watch more videos, comment down below what you guys want to watch, and I will be showing my babies more often. Well, obviously, actually, I want to vlog with them, like, so you guys can know how it's not that difficult to have them. So yes, if you like this video, please comment, share, and subscribe, please. And thank you for watching.